A pleasant afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am Miko Pereira from the Development Academy of the Philippines, your host for today. Welcome to the Public Sector Productivity Webinars organized by the Center of Excellence on Public Sector Productivity, the COE-PSP of the DAP. This week's webinar series is entitled Digital Transformation for Enhancing Public Sector Productivity. For the last 2 days, our speakers, Sir Ray Lugtu and Dr. Erica Ligara, provided us, the viewers, with an understanding of digital transformation in an organization, as well as the different ways on how to strengthen digital services to enhance productivity. For today's session, we will present 2 initiatives on digitalization to improve public services in the Philippine public sector. Before anything else, we would like to acknowledge our viewers watching us live via Facebook and YouTube. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. We would like to welcome participants from Professional Regulation Commission, Cagayan de Oro Regional Office 10, DOH Bicol Medical Center, magandang hapon po. PESO, Manila, magandang hapon po. Local Government of Maasin City, Southern Leyte, magandang hapon po. Abra State Institute of Science and Technology, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. DSWD Central Office, DepEd South Cotabato, Provincial Government of North Cotabato, Office of the Ombudsman. Indeed, we have a lot of viewers from different agencies all over the country. So apologies if I failed to mention yours, but nonetheless, welcome to the webinar series and I hope you're all having a great Friday afternoon. Before we proceed, we would like to remind our participants that in order to get an e-certificate of attendance, you should accomplish the session and course evaluation and pass the exams. The unified 3-day evaluation and exam will be given towards the end of the session today. For your questions, please feel free to write it at the comment section of our Facebook or at the live chat section para naman po sa ating mga audiences from YouTube. We will try to answer your questions live later at the end of the session. Without further ado, allow me to introduce our first presenter for this third session of the webinar, focusing on digital transformation initiatives in the public sector. Our speaker is an attorney who graduated from the Ateneo de Manila University. She also has a double degree in the Bachelor of Arts in International Studies and Bachelor of Science in Accountancy from the De La Salle University. In college, she served as the Budget Committee Head of the DLSU Council of Student Organization, Executive Vice President of the DLSU European Studies Association, and as the National Vice President of the Filipino-Chinese Catholic Youth. In law school, she was part of the Ateneo Central Bar operations. After passing the bar exams, our guest speaker immediately joined the Supreme Court of the Philippines as the court attorney at the Office of the Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio and became the Secretary of the Supreme Court's Committee on Computerization and Library. She was also a lecturer of the Philippine Judicial Academy, where as a young lawyer, she taught her fellow lawyers and judges about electronic legal research. Under the presidency of the late President Benigno Aquino III, she joined the Office of the President of the Philippines as the legal staff at the Office of the Deputy Executive Secretary for Legal Affairs, while simultaneously teaching business law at the De La Salle University College of St. Benilde. After contributing her talents in the national political landscape, she now continues to dedicate her life and her knowledge in the local government landscape, all for the betterment of the Dulag Leyte. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to introduce our guest speaker for today's session, Attorney Joy, the incumbent mayor of Dulag Leyte. Maupay nga kulop, Attorney Joy, at sa inyo dyan po. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Nico. Good afternoon to all our viewers, and thank you very much for inviting us, the municipal government of Dulag, to present to you what we call our Digitize Dulag program. I am joined here by my LGU family who will co-present with me what Digitize Dulag is, which is actually an integrated system. And I have another staff who will be joining us, Jeff, who will be sharing his screen as I begin my presentation. Next slide, please. So DigiDo or Digitize Dulag is actually a fully integrated computerization project. What do we want from this? We want to intensify transparency, accountability, and internal control. In what? In our administrative function, fiscal affairs, and resource management. The goal is actually to generate more revenue and be responsive and provide better public service, as well as improve security in our database. And the last is to provide an efficient use of manpower. This project is also aimed, of course, to give us, as executives, to give us relevant reports that on a day-to-day process can actually aid in strategically planning the overall delivery of basic services to our people, to my constituents. Digitized Dulag is actually composed of several systems, but the key here is that all of these systems, they talk with one another and they are integrated. In short, from the real property tax administration until the social welfare service management system, we are still lacking 4 more systems which are on the pipeline. These systems, they all speak to one another, and that is what we want to show you. In short, my presentation will walk you through the system. I will give you 5 examples. 2 of those walking through would be our revenue generating system. As you know, as a local government unit, our biggest income would always come from real property taxes or the amilyar, and of course the business permits. By walking you through this 2 revenue generating system, you will find out how integrated the systems are. Second example will be on our expense systems, and we will give you 3 examples. The payroll, which is our biggest expense on a monthly basis, purchases of office supplies perhaps, and of course the other biggest expense is our assistance in crisis situation. After walking you through these 5 examples, which my LGU team will help me, I will be open for your questions. Let us begin, Jeff. Example, I am an owner of a land, okay? And I do not know my tax declaration number. I just don't know of a person who can memorize his or her tax declaration number. So I now proceed to our municipal assessor's office, who will then, as you can see, this is the dashboard of our Dulag system. So I do not know what is my tax deck. Our assessor would now go into the real property assessment system. They will click an inquiry to type my name so that the system will now give, based on its database, all the properties that I own. Can you type my name, Jeff? After typing my name, the system will now generate what properties I own. Why is it not responding? As I said, we are online. This is the real system that we are using. So there you go. I have in the database 2 properties that I own with my siblings. And I'm very much particular to pay the real estate taxes for my property in Barangay Rizal. The tax declaration can be printed. Jeff, can you click on view? It can be printed, and we can copy now the tax declaration number, which is the barangay code is 33 and my property is number 66. So that's our keyword. Now I have with me my tax declaration. I can now proceed to the municipal treasurer's office for the computation on how much my real or my amilyar would cost me. I now turn you over to Daryl for that particular system.
Hello everyone, I'm Daryl from the Office of the Municipal Treasurer. So now let's proceed with the transaction flow using our LGU EGAP system. After the taxpayer has secured from the Municipal Assessor's Office the data needed for verification, the client may now proceed to our office to verify how much tax that is due on his property. So in our digital program, we will open RPTMS. real property tax management system, then click show a process, then real property tax order of payment. So as we can see on the monitor, we have options. We can choose by account number, by cadastral lot number, by owner. So in this case, we will use the tax decks because it is more common and it is more unique for every property. So as we can see, it is already included Barangay 33, code for Barangay Rizal, and 66. So we click bill now. Go. So we can see on the screen how much tax is due on his property. So it is printable in case the owner asks a copy of it.
So,
Now,
Daryl, I would now like to pay for my Amilyar.
so the
Where do we go next?
so the client wanted to pay, so we close that window. So since this is a payment system, we go to POPs, point of payment system. Click that window. RPT collection, so real property taxes. We click that RPT module. So we input the tax deck number. Click accept TD. So accept taxes. So we can see the interface, we can see the amount paid. So we click print receipt. And that's how fast the transaction is.
By the way, we have pro forma receipts which we require, which are printed by the National Printing Office. So what you can see here are the ones printed by the computer. All our logos and are pre-printed by NPO. So that ends the transaction on the payment of real property taxes. I'll show you the next steps of the integration, but let me first go to the payment of business permits. I'll now turn you over to my BPLO, Tan Lee.
So thank you so much, Mayor Joy. Good afternoon, everyone. As the Business Permit and Licensing Officer of the Municipal Government of Dulag, I am going to walk you through our business permit and license system. Let us assume that one of our clients, Ms. Loribel Alicando, wants to renew her business. So we will generate her assessment by clicking Application, Assessment, and Billing File. Once we arrive on this portion, we click Add. Then choose Application Type, click Renewal, then Proceed. On this portion, we will search Business Taxpayers Record by inputting the value we want to search in the fields below. Take, for example, the name. After inputting, press Enter, key to start searching. To select, double-click the highlighted record or click on Select button. What we can see now on the dashboard is the business application entries renewal of business license of Grand CL Enterprises owned by Ms. Alicando. All we have to do is to check the entries and update the data that need to be updated, such as the contact number, number of personnel, and most especially, edit current year gross sales, which is basically the basis for the computation of the business tax. Once done, click the requirement status detail. Yes. Click the approve box, then save. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a couple of minutes, we can now have the business tax order of payment ready for printing. Please note that this order of payment is also forwarded to the Treasury system, and business owner can now go to the Treasurer's office to pay the business tax. Once again, thank you so much.
That actually provides a faster business permit renewal. So our clients here or business owners will only wait for about 5 minutes and they're done with the application. I'll now turn you over to Daryl because our business owner, Engineer Alicando, would now like to pay for her business permit. Daryl, please.
Hello again. So the client has already finished within minutes from the office of the BPLO. So she can now proceed to the office of the Municipal Treasurer to pay her taxes. So we go to PAP, Point of Payment System. So BPL for payment. So we input the business ID, which can be found on the form given by the BPLO. So input the data. The amount will automatically generate. So accept paid taxes. That will be ready for printing on the official receipt. And that's fast how it is. It's done.
Again, our official receipt is pre-printed by the NPO. So what you see here is the laser, no, not laser printer, the dot matrix printer that it will, it will print. After this transaction of payment, on a day-to-day, on the average, on a day-to-day basis of transaction per collector, I have 4 collectors in my MPO. Per collector would have an average about 50 transactions. So in a day, they would now have not yet a consolidation, but however, a daily report of collection. We'll explain that, Daryl.
So to earn our collection for the day, for every collector, we close our register. So we click close the register. So just click proceed. Yes. Then proceed. It reflects all the collections for that day. Close.
The collector does not even have to do anything but keep on clicking, because it's the system now that actually consolidates all of his or her collections for the day.
So that ends our collection for the day, and we are all ready for the next collection.
So once this is closed, our assistant municipal treasurer would now consolidate the 4 collection reports, which will then be transmitted to the accounting office. I'll now turn you over to our assistant municipal treasurer, Ronald, for the explanation.
Hello, good afternoon. So I am Ronald Bangko, the liquidating officer of the LGU Dulag. So upon closing of report of collections of all the collectors, we will now be generating the consolidated report of collection. So we will tap CCS, and then collection remittance, and then liquidating officers RCD, and then we'll choose the month, and then the fund and the liquidating officer, and then we will create. So after that, proceed. So, and then we're ready for printing. So that's how easy we can generate the consolidated report of collections and deposits.
On a day-to-day basis, the same data is transferred or integrated with our accounting system. I'll turn you over to our municipal accountant, Christine Padil, to discuss the same.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. So upon receipt of the daily collection report from the Municipal Treasurer's Office, the accounting office will now record the collections in the books of accounts by means of a journal entry voucher using the new government accounting system. Okay. So now we will go to the collections, disbursements, and liquidations module, followed by the followed by the report of collections and deposits file submodule. Okay. Now that it is opened, we can see the list of collection reports by the Municipal Treasurer's Office, and we simply click the report that we need to make a journal entry voucher of. Then click Post JEB Entries. As we can see, the entries are automatically generated, and all we have to do is double check them. If everything is accurate, we will now click Save. Okay. Print the JEB or the journal entry voucher and attach it to the report of collections and deposit. And then after that, we're done.
That's how a revenue generating system is fully integrated. May I now walk you through the expense? The first on the list is actually our payroll. I'll turn you over to my HRMO, Sir Junie Globio.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Junie. And as I show you the process of generating our payroll, we open first the government payroll system in the dashboard. Before we set up the payroll, we go first to the loan and premium schedule module. And as an example, we click for regular employees submodule. And here we update loan repayments of our employees. If there are new loans, we add the type of loan and click Save. And if there are fully paid up loans, we click Edit, Stop Payment, and Save, then Close. Then we proceed to the Setup Payroll module. Then click Regular Employees Payroll submodule. For the payroll period, then click New Payroll Transaction. And for the payroll period, we input the month, in this case, the month of October. Then we input the DTR period for the previous month for the purpose of deducting the amount which is equivalent to the number of minutes an employee was tardy for the said month in his salary. Click Save, then click Create Payroll Transaction.
You will now notice that it's the system that actually generates the payroll with less intrusion from a personnel. So our method now of time in and time out is actually through a facial recognition. We made sure that pictures are not allowed in facial recognition. The same time in and time out is now inputted to the system. The system will determine if he or she is absent. That is already linked. And right now, we are already creating the payroll for all offices.
Yes. So as you can see, all the payrolls of the different offices are automatically generated, and all the mandatory deductions are pre-computed in the system, so it automatically reflects on the payroll. So we click Mayor's Office
As an
as an
example.
example, and for the purpose of double checking, we process and then we finalize the payroll. And it's ready for printing.
This is how our payroll looks like. As I said, all the details, all the particulars are actually properly indicated. After the payroll is generated, it will be submitted to the budget office for its proper budget allocation. I'll turn you over to Randy to discuss the same.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. Upon receiving the payroll from the HRMO, we will prepare right away the obligation request form for certification of the availability of allotment and the details of the obligation. From the system menu, we will click the BMS tab. From the module menu, click the budget execution tab. And then the obligation request file. From the office, click the Mayor's Office, click Add. Click from Certification and Other Documents bar. Select Document from Payroll. Click the Control Number button. Click the Payroll. Select. Then that's it. The obligation request record entry. Then click Approve and Save.
This OBR will now be transmitted to the accounting office for its proper process, or what we call the disbursement voucher.
So,
Tin?
Thank you, Mayor. So upon receipt of the document from the budget office, the accounting office will now create a disbursement voucher for the transaction using the new government accounting system. So now we will go again to the collections, disbursements, and liquidations module, followed by the disbursement voucher file sub-module. Here, we will click Add to create a new DV. Okay, that's how it looks. Then we click Add again on the OBR reference portion. Then we either input or simply select the OBR number of the transaction concerned. So click Select. And all the details provided by the budget office will be imported to the disbursement voucher. So all we have to do now is to check that all details are accurate and edit those that need to be edited. In this case, we have to change the name of the payee to the name of the accountable officer since this is a cash advance. So let's input Marilu Pedos. Okay, Marilu Pedos. And we also have to edit the particulars to cash advance for salaries of employees for the month of October 2022. Since our example is the cash advance for payroll for the month of October. Okay. So if everything is in order, we now click the reviewed or audited button. And as you can see, by clicking it, the DV number is automatically generated. Then we'll click now the approved DV button, followed by the approve for payment button, and then we save. Okay, so the disbursement voucher is now created, and after its creation, it will now be printed and attached to the supporting documents, which will be transmitted to the Municipal Treasurer's Office for the issuance of check.
So, Daryl, can you explain how the check is being issued?
So we close that. For every transaction expenses that are made by the LGU or ready for checking, it goes to the Municipal Treasurer's Office. So we click CDS, Cash Disbursement System. Click Vouchers and ETM Payrolls. Click Disbursement Vouchers File. So we have to locate the claimant. Just click the claimant, then assign check. So it will be automatic. As we can see, all the data coming from the budget and the accounting that are already being checked. So it automatically reflects on the check. So there's no chance for error. So just save.
And the check is printed.
And the check is printed, ready for approval.
This particular transaction would actually go back to the accounting office for the accountant's advice. But due to lack of time, I will just show that to you later if we still have enough time. So that check is now brought to the Bank Development Academy of the Philippines, Development Bank of the Philippines for processing, and our salary are placed in our ATMs. So the next transaction which we want to show you is a purchase, maybe a purchase of an office supply. Luis here, my staff from the General Services Office, will present.
Good afternoon. So for purchasing transactions, we'll now proceed to Government Procurement Management System. And then click Purchase and Acceptance, Purchase Request. Click Add, and check blank Purchase Request, then proceed. Then we'll choose the Office of the Mayor as an example. Click Select, and then the fund cluster portion, we'll choose General Fund. For the items to be purchased, we'll click Add. Bond paper as an example. Click and Add to Cart. Double check the quantity and the unit cost, then click OK. Once settled, we'll go to the mode of procurement. Then we'll choose shopping, and we'll now present the purpose of purchasing. So this time it will be for the use of office. Then click Certified Cash Availability. Approve PR, then save. So before, okay, proceed.
So once the purchase request is printed, the same will be brought to our supplier for securing the one ream of bond paper. When the bond paper arrives at the municipal hall, Luis here will now process an inspection and acceptance report.
Well, so before close, we must remember the control number. Then we'll proceed to acceptance and inspection report. So the control number is 2093. Then close. Proceed to acceptance and inspection report. Click add. Create approved PR, then proceed. Input the control number, then select. So we'll now update the supplier's name. The supplier, Leyte Paper World, as an example. Click. And then we'll go to the requested by, which is already presented. And then we'll go to the get quantity. Click accepted by. And then save. So at the end part, we'll now go to the inspection. Click again the get quantity, inspected by, and approved IAR, then save. And it's now ready for print.
So once the PR, the bond paper has arrived, and the inspection and acceptance report has been generated, this same transaction will now go to our budget office for proper allocation. Randy again?
Okay, from the system menu, we click the BMS tab again. From the module menu, click the budget execution tab. Then click the obligation request file. Click the office of the Municipal Mayor. Click add. Then click from certification and other documents. Click the from procurement system. Click the button. Find the control number 2093 2090. Okay. Then click, select, proceed. As you see, you will click the add button again. Then maintenance, MOE. Click the office supplies expense and the amount, and then save. Then type the particulars payment of office supplies.
So once the OBR is generated, you will now have to go through accounting, treasurers, and so forth. So I'll cut that short, and we will now proceed to the last example, which I have, the assistance in crisis situation. Rainiel here from our MSWDO office will explain.
Good day, everyone. I'm Rainiel Mangampo, a representative from MSWD office. May I present to you the system that are using in our office? Using our social welfare development system, let's proceed to CIUS. Now click add new intake to add new case study. Then search the name of the beneficiary, client either.
Let's pretend that a certain Miss Espiritu is asking for medical assistance because she's suffering from a certain disease. So Miss Espiritu here is in front of us and she's asking for help. So a social worker will be in charge to take the data from Miss Josefina Espiritu.
Okay, in this case, client already has a record in the system. So all we have to do is to double check the info of the client if it is correct or need to be updated. Since the client info is still the same, then we will proceed to the problem presented. To identify what,
Yeah, client here will be interviewed, right?
yes
Danielle?
po, to identify what kind of assistance client needs. Then now we can change the transaction type to financial assistance and nature of needs to medical assistance. Then we will proceed now to brief case findings to identify the history of the problem. Then the assigned staff will input their evaluation and recommendation amount in the evaluation and recommendation tab. Then proceed to requirements and social worker to choose assigned staff to conduct an interview. Then go to action taken office referrer, then click add. We'll choose approval assistance, then click add again. For fund source, we need to choose MSWDO, medicine as charging for SPA account. Then for the payment code, choose check. Then in the recommended amount to 2K and press tab to fill the approved amount. Then click save and save. Now we'll prepare the documentary requirements, and if it is completed, it will be forwarded to the budget office.
Randy, explain how you put an allocation for
Okay. Let's open the system,
Oh, by the
Right.
way, not everyone would have access to these systems. There are user, what do you call that? User parameters that, one person can just access this particular system. Not everyone would have the full access except for myself. Let's now go to the budget menu. Jeff, please.
Click the budget execution, then obligation request. Click office of the MSWDO. Then click add. Then click from certification and other documents. Click from crisis intervention unit services. Click the case ID button. Type Josefina Friend. Okay, select proceed. Okay, just type the particulars, payment of medical assistance. Click approve and save.
Okay, and this will now be given to the accountant's office for the disbursement voucher. Dean, again, please.
So after the documents are transmitted to the accounting office, we will now create again a disbursement voucher, and we will again use the new government accounting system and proceed to the disbursement voucher file. So upon opening, we click add to create a new DB. Then we click add again to the obligation request reference. Then we select the OBR number. Okay. And all details provided by the budget office will appear in the disbursement voucher. So when all details are in order, we now click the reviewed or audited button, and the DB number is again automatically assigned. Then we proceed to clicking the approved DB button, followed by the approve for payment button, and then we click save. And the DB is now ready for printing.
So after printing the same, it goes now for check issuance. Daryl?
Okay, thank you. So there is another approved expense transaction. So we have to take action on this. So we go to CDS, cash disbursement system for checking. So we choose vouchers and ATM payrolls, disbursement vouchers 5. So we have to locate the claimant, click, then assign check. As previously shown earlier, The same process, save and print for check approval.
The check as well as the accountant's advice will be generated as well by the system, brought to DBP. Once that is processed, the check is now ready for release to the client. This is my last presentation. I'll give you back Rainiel to discuss how we release AIs.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Once the assistance is ready, MSWD office are the one who facilitate releasing the check. And then, once the check is released, we will update the client record in the system. We will go back to SWDS, and we will proceed to CIUS. CIUS. Next, search the client name, then choose the specific case study, then click releasing details, and click release. Release data and check automatically be filled. Then the last step, we need to take a picture of the client for the documentation.
So let's just say that it's Mrs. Prito herself who got the check, but this time I'll have Jeff take his own picture because the system cannot go through unless there is a picture. That ends my presentation. As you can see, Digitize Dulag is much, much more than what we have presented. We have just walked you through 5 types of transactions, but actually the system is much, much more. If you can see the dashboard, there are other systems that for the benefit of time, I will not be able to show you anymore. I'm now open for questions, or perhaps maybe hear first from BSP and then be open for questions. Thank you once again for listening to us.
Thank you very much for the informative presentation, Mayor Joy and team, no? Seeing some digitization at work must have provided our viewers some insights kung paano nga ba ma-adapt and ano bang significance ng digitalization sa public services. I'm quite sure as well that they have some burning questions in mind, but please hold on to that, guys, or if you can, try to send it on the chat so that we can go back to it later and try to answer it during our Q&A session. This afternoon, we are graced by 2 presenters to give us an idea on how digitization efforts are being prioritized in the government. With this, let us proceed with our second case presenter from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Our speaker is regarded as one of the stewards of pioneering and responsive regulatory approach on technology and innovation. His career in the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, spanning decades of experience, has not only witnessed the dramatic advancement of technology in the Philippine financial sector, but more importantly, has played a key role in reshaping the regulatory mindset towards a more progressive approach on technology risk and innovation supervision. He has taken a highly critical and challenging role in the BSP as head of the department in charge of technology and cybersecurity risk and including emerging technologies. He continues to spearhead different cybersecurity reforms aimed at enhancing the BSP cybersecurity oversight. He is also in charge in promoting a secure and cyber-resilient financial ecosystem through close coordination and partnership with different associations, regulatory counterparts, and other relevant stakeholders. As newer technologies continues to revolutionize today's society, he is yet again at the forefront of regulatory advancement in the digital banking supervision in the key areas of cloud services, open finance, and regulatory technology. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Director Mel T. Plabasan of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Director Mel, the floor is yours po. Take it away.
Yeah, magandang hapon. Thank you so much, Nico. And good afternoon to everyone. It is a great pleasure to be part of this public sector productivity webinar series, specifically touching on the digital transformation for the government or the public sector. By the way, I would like to commend the earlier presentation was a brilliant presentation. Being an IT practitioner and an advocate of digital transformation, I must say that I must commend the display of innovative or digital mindset that our LGU should possess. Like, of course, yung pinakita ng LGU Dulag. Anyway, for this afternoon, I'm tasked to discuss with you or to give you an update on the state of recovery, levels of growth, ano ba yung pace, velocity, and direction of digital acceleration in the Philippine financial system. So, I'm sure given the recent developments, especially nakita natin yung sa RB Dulag, sa LGU Dulag, it is really undeniable that we are more than ready to embrace digital recovery, digital transformation for recovery and growth. Next. Next, please. Yeah. So just, I'm sure yung mga estudyante dyan alam pa to, but just an overview of the core mandate of the BSP. So essentially, we are in charge of ensuring that there's price stability, financial stability, and of course, our payment systems are running smoothly and efficiently. But of course, meron pang aside from these core mandates, meron pang mga what we call advocacies. May mga advocacies pa din si BSP, and one of them really is financial inclusion. So sa Tagalog, pag sinabi natin financial inclusion, dapat kasama lahat, di ba? Dapat walang maiiwan. And if we are talking about financial inclusion, ibig sabihin that all adult Filipinos should have access to safe, convenient, and affordable financial services, or they should have transaction accounts which they can use on a day-to-day basis. So dapat lahat tayo may. I'll show you some of the statistics later on. Next slide, please. Speaking of statistics, based on our data as of 2021, so roughly around 56% Filipino adults have transaction accounts. So medyo malaki yan compared to 2019. Because really it was driven by the pandemic. Diba? Wala namang tayong choice because of all the restrictions. We had to open e-money or bank accounts so that we can use sa ating mga add to cart and ating basic necessities, even food, clothing. So lahat yan ginagawa natin using our transaction account, our deposit or e-money accounts. Now, napansin din namin that the use of digital channels were primarily driven by payment and fund transfer. So marami doon payment nga. As mentioned earlier, we had no choice back then because of all the restrictions. So we had to kumbaga, there's a shift in the preference of consumer from yung cash heavy naging cash light na, and there's preference to digital financial channels. And again, we also noticed that with respect to the number of Filipinos that have mobile phones and internet, they are now 60% now are using or is using their mobile phone or internet to perform financial transactions. So magandang ano din yan, magandang development. Next slide, please. And sa tingin namin, when we speak of financial inclusion, dapat kasama talaga ang MSMEs or micro and small medium enterprises because diba sa Philippines they are the primary source of livelihood for sa mga Filipinos, di ba? Ang daming Filipinos nagtatrabaho sa mga or being employed by our MSMEs. And we also have a lot of programs that address the requirements of MSMEs. I won't be discussing each one of them, but I would just like to highlight yung pillars of this MSME initiatives. We have, of course, credit infrastructure. So we are working with JICA right now. So when we speak of credit infrastructure, we need to make sure that we are able to facilitate access ng mga MSMEs. Let's say if kung kailangan nila ng credit or ng loan, they should have access to it. And that can be facilitated using some of by leveraging on some of the initiatives that we are undertaking right now. One of them nga is we're working with JICA on the creation of credit risk database, so that sa MSME kasi, since a lot of them are part of the informal sector, so it's really difficult to build data. So, kasi di ba pag mangungutang ka, yung lender should have the data they require for them to decide whether magpapautang ka ba, to determine the credit worthiness. So fortunately, we have the JICA that's helping us build this credit database. And for MSMEs, we also have digital and bankable MSMEs. I'm sure narinig nyo na yung palang QR. So I'm sure marami na din sa inyo na experience how efficient it is to use QR code when it comes to payment. You just open the mobile app and then scan the QR code and pay. Basta may laman yung may balance yung mobile wallet or yung deposit account nyo. So we are also embarking on what we call basic merchant accounts. So essentially, mas pinadali yung pag-open ng mga accounts so that even yung mga vendors nga sa palengke, even yung mga nasa transport sector, tricycle driver, pwede na din silang easily makapag-open ng account without requiring na maraming mga information on document that they need to submit. So that, they can use this account to receive payments. So that yung mga payment, let's say payments sa magtataho or payments sa mangingisda will go straight to their account. And of course, there are also a lot of initiatives on innovative financing approaches like supply chain finance. Kasi right now, kapag manghihiram ka ng pera, there's really heavy reliance on the balance sheet, di ba? Kailangan, let's say, may collateral, etc. But this time, with supply chain finance, essentially, nakabase lang yung sa cash flow and inventory. That can be the basis para mapautang yung isang MSME or isang businessman. So there's also this alternative credit scoring. Sabi ko nga, sometimes it's very difficult to build the data of all of these MSMEs. That's why we are exploring the possibility, and may mga nagawa ng study regarding the use of alternative credit scoring data. Let's say for example, yung digital footprint mo, paano ka nagbabayad ng bills mo, let's say yung social media, yung let's say paano ka nagbabayad, let's say ng bills sa telco, etc. All of these can also be utilized to determine the credit worthiness of a person or of an entity. So there's a science to it. And on top of all of this, syempre, kailangan natin what we are espousing, it's not just the innovation. It has to be responsible innovation. And for us to be able to achieve yung responsible innovation, there should also be financial and digital literacy, di ba? So let's say let's say pag nagkaroon ka na sila ng negosyo and then they are already accepting payments using QR, dapat meron ding education how to manage yung mga kinikita nila, etc. Tapos since they now have access to mga mobile financial channels, so they also need to be taught about yung how to protect their digital identity, di ba? Paano sila hindi mabibigyan ng mga scam, phishing, etc. So all of these initiatives should be underpinned by digital and financial literacy for us to achieve nga yung sinasabi natin, responsible innovation. Next slide, please. Now, I mentioned about one of our advocacies, which is nga yung financial inclusion na kailangan halos lahat ng adult Filipinos should have access to a transaction account which they can use on a day-to-day basis. And how do we intend to achieve that? It's actually a whole of government approach. It's not just the BSP. There are also other government agencies that are embarking on this, what we call NSFI or National Financial. And this was actually relaunched by early this year. And how do we intend to achieve yun nga yung objective natin na to expand financial inclusion in the country. So we plan to achieve this by promoting inclusive digital finance. So there's again, parating may emphasis sa digital na ngayon because we are now in the digital age. So everything revolves around digital technology, innovation, etc. And again, but on top of this, I mentioned about the importance of empowering the consumers. That's why yung financial education and consumer protection, there should also be access to risk protection and social safety nets. And of course, when we speak of financial inclusion, sabi ko nga, aside from the MSME, kasama pa rin natin dapat ang agri-sector, the agriculture sector. So this is how these are some of the enablers of our national strategy for financial inclusion. Next slide, please. Again, I mentioned, di ba, doon sa previous slide about the digital finance. So, paano natin ma-achieve yun? Or I will try to discuss some of the initiatives for us to have a more inclusive digital finance ecosystem, a more vibrant digital finance ecosystem, for us to be able to, let's say, to further democratize access to transaction account. Meron tayong basic deposit account or e-money. Ito yung mga low-cost, no-frills account. Konti lang yung information required. Walang maintaining balance. Again, para mas mapadali yung yung opening of account in our financial institutions, not only banks but including yung mga e-money issuers, yung entities like that starts with G or kaya with P or M. So all of these are also considered as financial institutions, which also can help us onboard more Filipinos into our formal financial system. Now, of course, realizing na yung fully digital will not happen instantaneously. Kumbaga, hindi siya talaga fully digital agad. That's why we also thought of, let's say, coming up with what we call cash agent or e-money agents. Alam mo, in some areas na walang branch, walang ATM, so for you to be able to have access to your mobile wallet, diba, kailangan mo maglagay ng pera. Or if you need to, let's say, kailangan mo talaga ng pera, if you need to take out money from your, let's say, from your e-money account or your basic deposit account, dapat meron kang mga pupuntahan. And if you're in far-flung areas, minsan walang branch, walang ATM, that's why we allowed our financial institutions to engage cash agents. So ito yung mga pawn shops, these are mga retail stores, convenience stores that you can utilize for basic financial transaction. I mentioned earlier about putting in money to your mobile wallet or taking out money to your basic deposit account. And of course, if you want to go fully digital, we also have the National Retail Payment System. I'm sure some of you may have already used yung Tapay, PesoNet, diba? So that you can do fund transfer from one institution to another institution. And of course, there are other initiatives pa like yung QRPH, I mentioned about Paleng QR, and eGovPay. This is to facilitate naman payment to government institutions. Probably LGU Dulag can also in the future utilize eGovPay so that yung interaction with their citizens, yung payment can also be done digitally na din. Next slide, please. Now, I've shown some statistics early on, and again, I would like to emphasize that we are fully cognizant of the fact that if we expand financial services, it can help the country, let's say, in our post-pandemic recovery and growth. That's why we have set this target. It's what we call our digital payment transformation roadmap, wherein ang sinabi namin back in 2020, by the end of 2023, dapat 50% of retail payment transactions are already digital. So right now, as of end of 2021, 30% na yan. From 1% in 2013 to 30% in 2021. So hopefully, we are able to achieve 50% by end of 2023, given all our initiatives. And yun nga, we're also coordinating with other government agencies and even LGUs to digitize their processes, to digitize yung payments, when not only the payments but also when kapag magbibigay naman ng assistance yung LGU, that can also be done digitally, right? Because diba yung recently yung mga ayuda, they can already be done digitally. If you have an e-money account or a deposit, you can nominate that and the ayuda will go straight to your account. Madali lang, wala nang pila, hindi ka na, ayun, kumbaga, because may record na yung either the national government or the LGU, may record na of yung mga recipients ng ayuda. And of course, I mentioned about the number of Filipinos that should have access to transaction account. The target is 70%. And I mentioned earlier, di ba, nasa 56 na tayo. So 56 is close to 6 out of 10 Filipinos already have a transaction account which they can use on their day-to-day transaction. So this is the twin objectives of these are the twin objectives of our digital payment transformation roadmap, and hopefully ma-achieve namin yan by 2023, by end of next year. Next slide, please. So aside from all of these initiatives I mentioned earlier, so marami pa. We are working with the Philippine Statistics Authority regarding yung national ID, so that again, pag may national ID kasi, it's very easy now to open an account, diba? Especially if you're going to validate the identity versus yung sa record na that we have in the Philippine Statistics Authority. So madali na din mag-onboard ng mga Pilipino so that they can already open an account. At isa pa, makakatulong din to minimize yung mga scam. So yung mga nanloloko ng scam, mahihirapan na silang gawin yan because it can now easily, their identity can now easily be traced using our national ID. So we also have central bank digital currency. So it's just it's just another form of currency, because right now we have bills and coins, diba? And again, as we go digital, so it's really just a matter of time. So we will probably have a third form of currency, which is currency in the digital form, and hopefully that can also help in expanding financial inclusion, in achieving stability of our payment system, and open finance. We are also embarking on creating a vibrant open finance ecosystem here in the country. So ang idea ng open finance is that kapag the customers will be empowered to share their data, kasi we believe that yung data mo being managed or stored sa mga bangko or sa ibang financial institution, that's your own data. So you have the right to give access to those data to other financial institutions. Let's say, if you want, let's say nag-apply ka ng credit card sa ibang institution, so you can authorize your existing or the institution where you have a credit card right now or other account to provide statement, o kaya pag nag-open ka ng account with another institution, you don't have to redo the entire process. So they will just validate your identity sa ibang financial institution na meron ka ng account. So that will also facilitate access to digital financial services, and at the same time mas customized na yung magiging services. And we're talking here of not just banking services, but even other financial services like insurance, investment, etc. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Some other initiatives that we consider as enablers of our digital payment transformation roadmaps. I'm sure narinig nyo na yung we have recently approved 6 digital banks, no? So may mga na yan, OF Bank, Tonic Bank, Maya Bank, Union Digital, Uno Bank, etc. So it's another classification of bank, di ba? Meron tayong rural bank, thrift bank, commercial bank. So this time, ito yung mga institutions that are offering their services digitally end-to-end. So wala talagang manual intervention, walang branch. They are considered as branches. Excuse me, sorry. So again, we are considering them as partners when it comes to further expanding digital financial services in the country. And of course, we recently issued a circular on regulatory sandbox. So there are institutions that would like to offer products and services na using emerging technology, yung mga bagong-bagong technology pa, or some services which are not yet covered by existing rules and regulations. So they can approach us and they can apply to participate in our regulatory sandbox, wherein subject to compliance with certain requirements, they will be allowed to offer their services in a live but controlled environment so that makita nila how these services, how the new technology will work in the real world. So that's what we call test and learn or regulatory sandbox. Hopefully with this one, we can also encourage digital transformation, not only to the new players, but also to the existing financial institutions that have yet to embrace digital transformation or that have yet to embark in their digital transformation journey. I think I'm down to next slide, please. And of course, on the downside naman, because as we foster digital transformation, as we encourage the Filipino citizens to utilize digital financial services, mobile channels, etc. Syempre, ang expected na nadadami din yung mga cyber-related incident, mga scams. That's why we have also been busy on some of the related initiatives like in terms of regulation, in terms of surveillance, in terms of ensuring that our financial institutions are adapting yung security standards in accordance with our rules and best practices. We are also digitizing our process. Diba? Nakita natin kanina si LGU Dulag. So I would liken that to our initiative wherein in our department, we call this Project Asterisk. So in terms of supervision, end-to-end now, we are now in the process of digitalizing it. Even with the way we do audit, even with the way we do examination. So hindi na namin kailangang pumunta sa mga financial institutions, pumunta sa mga bangko. We can do that sa head office sa Manila using this particular platform. So ayun, it's also because LGUs or other government agencies can also leverage on technology to make their lives easier. So, and there are other initiatives pa to strengthen or to promote cyber resilience within the financial sector. There's also this e-safety. So it's a cyber awareness and digital literacy campaign kasi nga napansin namin while padami yung digital transactions, marami ding mga clients ang naloloko, nagkiklik ng mga emails or SMS or nagbibigay ng information sa mga tumatawag sa kanila na nagpapanggap na empleyado ng isang bangko or ng isang e-money issuer. So we are also heavily engaged in consumer education. Next slide, please. Okay. Yeah, I mentioned earlier. So, ayan. So, since this topic is all about digital transformation, and we feel that really digital transformation is a shared responsibility. Given what's happening right now, nakita naman natin that yung mga financial institutions, LGUs, businesses, there are a lot of opportunities na naghihintay sa inyo when you embark in your digital transformation journey. But I think importante din yung responsible innovation that we are espousing. And so again, we encourage everyone here to continue to embrace digital transformation and let's create a fertile ground to promote sustainable recovery and growth of our economy. That ends my presentation. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you so much, Director Mel. Very interesting and comprehensive po ang presentation natin. Surely our participants are amazed and inspired by what BSB has been doing pagdating sa digitalization journey nila. Some key takeaway lang po siguro, Director Mel, no? Inclusivity, accessibility, and literacy really goes hand in hand in paving the way of financial digital transformation as a whole map po talaga, no? Let's now jump into answering the questions from our webinar participants po. This is for LGU Leyte po. Are other municipalities in Leyte employing the same digitalized system, or is Dulag the pioneer of digitalized system? Mayor Joy.
Thank you for that, Nico. I cannot say for the other municipalities because we did digitize Dulag through our own initiative. So I do not know if the other municipalities would have, but I'm pretty sure they are also in the same realm of digitization. Ours may be, what I'm trying to say is ours are the integrated system. Maybe for the other municipalities, they have this solo system, especially for the BPLS, which was rolled out by DCT a few years back.
I see. Just a follow-up question po, no, attorney. Can other LGUs copy the systems? How po? This is from Miss Nenita de la Cruz from YouTube.
Of course, this can be copied, but again, we have a systems developer. It's a third-party systems developer. I copied the same from Mayor Rex Gatchalian of Valenzuela. This was actually when we visited Valenzuela. We copied, but of course, the copy is not fully copied. We customize it to our own needs. So this is an enhanced version. So to copy it, yes, but due to intellectual property, you have to pay a fee to the developer.
I see. We have an incoming comment po from Mean Arroyo for
Mean.
Dulag LGU. Excellent system.
course.
Kudos to LGU Dulag, hoping for the implementation of BTMS from DBM. More or less the same system and process. I'd like to
Thank
jump
you.
into kay Director Mel po, no? May comment tayo coming in from Facebook. In relation to BSP efforts, does the government have plans or measure that the citizen can expect in the near future that would address the growing national concerns about spamming or yung mga scamming texts? Especially right now po na cashless transaction na tayo.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier about, let's say, our initiatives, let's say, let's say, in terms of regulation, in terms of supervision, in terms of surveillance. There are also industry level initiatives. And we are also working on, we are also, we are closely coordinating with the Senate and Congress, the lower house, because we also support yung SIM registration bill. Again, we hope that with the passage of this bill, that would hopefully reduce yung because now you cannot, diba, mahirap na manloko because you will be required to submit an ID when you buy a SIM. So yung mga prepaid SIM na ginagamit normally for scam, mahihirapan na. Plus of course, we are also working with the law enforcement agencies. Kasi napansin namin magandang deterrent din na let's say if we see people talaga na if they do something wrong that they can be sent to jail, magandang deterrent din. No? So it's really parang systemic enhancement that we need, hindi lang on the part of the BSP. It's not just a whole of government approach, probably it's a whole of nation approach, because we also need to teach our citizens, diba, how to protect their digital identity. Wag masyadong maraming i-share sa social media because yung iba naman na scam because yung ibang information can also be gathered from social media. So it's a whole of nation approach or whole of society approach para mabawasan natin yung scam and yung mga ganyang panloloko Nico.
Agree Direk. I agree po sa sinasabi niyo whole of governance approach nga po, no. In connection to that po, our next question can be both answered by the LGU Leyte and Director Mel. It is about Data Privacy Act po, no. What is the role of Data Privacy Act in the digital transformation? How can we ensure that our data are secure and are very much foolproof against digital threats?
Would you like to go first, Mayor Joy?
Actually, for Dulag, we are not yet online. The whole system is land-based. We connect through local area network. I am not yet. Let's just say I'm not yet confident to go online until I am secure of a cybersecurity company that can actually put up all those walls. So that's the reason why, if you can see my presentation, Digitize Dulag, we can go online for e-payment siguro towards the end of next year. I have already two cybersecurity companies in mind, but I'm not yet fully confident that they can do it. Data privacy for me, the employees who are handling all of that, they sign documents that whatever they read, they cannot share. That's the reason why, if you see the examples given, they were all asked about the possibility that we keep them, for public purposes, for presentation purposes. So these people, they know that this will be shared through this presentation. We really value data privacy. Thank you.
Thank you po. We have one comment po from coming in from
Kay Sir
Facebook.
Mel siguro muna, Miko,
Ay,
for the
okay.
answer.
Yeah. Yun, tama naman. Si Mayor Joy mentioned about data privacy and cybersecurity. Based on my presentation earlier, as you can see, while we are heavily promoting digital transformation, we also need to ensure that the pace of digitalization proceeds hand in hand with caution and with adequate risk management. Kaya nga sabi namin, while we are promoting all of this, we need to ensure that this will not diminish yung responsibility when it comes to cybersecurity and data privacy, because at the end of the day, we really need to instill trust, di ba? How can you encourage people to go digital kung, di ba, kung nananakawan yung personal information nila or nanakawan sila ng pera? So again, it's really important, and yung equally important is also promoting risk management, caution, compliance with standards on data privacy and cybersecurity.
It goes back po talaga sa leveling of sa awareness and building knowledge talaga, no. Speaking of risk management, no, this is for the Dulag Leyte Municipality po. In times of disaster and loss of power and connectivity, will the system work or still function? Or is there a
Yes.
backup process po that will be implemented?
There is. Okay. One, we are all using laptops because even if the power runs out, hindi siya biglang nagsha-shutdown dahil laptop. Two is we have our own servers that are working. The servers, they have UPS that can run for 15 minutes. And the third is we have 2 generator sets. So even if there is no power, our system are still on, our system can still be used. So one is that all our users are using laptops. And if you can notice, laging may save. And the last is every day at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m., the system does its own backing up. And aside from that, once a month, our users, they have their own external hard drive. They save their data in their laptops.
I see. We have incoming comment po from the Dulag Municipality. Digital transformation really shortened the processes of government transaction and eradicate fixers. Kudos to the implementation po. For Director Mel, how does test and learn work? Nabanggit niyo po kanina, Director Mel, yung konsepto ng test and learn. No? How can it help stimulate acceptance of digital transformation?
So, isa-cite ko yung example. Before kasi, I'm sure you are familiar naman with GCash and Paymaya. Yung Paymaya used to be Smart Money. Back then, we were approached by these companies, by the proponent in 2004. So, normally, di ba, they are offering something. Back then, hindi mo iisipin, how can telco, di ba? Paano magkakaroon ng yung telco mag-o-offer ng financial services na you can move money from one telephone to another telephone. Ang weird nung idea back then. So but the late Governor Nesting Espinilla na-realize na we can also utilize this para sa ating financial inclusion, because back then napaka-konti pa lang ng Pilipinos na may access to to all of this yung may access to transaction accounts. So doon pumasok initially na conceptualization as test and learn. So let's try i-test nila, and then let's learn, let's closely monitor. When you say kasi test and learn, you will work in a controlled environment para hindi masyadong malaki yung pace. So while kumbaga learning by doing. So nung nakita namin, pinag-aralan, ano dapat yung mga risk management measures and controls that should be put in place before they can go really public. Yun yung ginawa. So pinag-aralan, in-issue yung regulation. So yun, that's how it really is right now. Kasi di ba, let's say if you cannot say no to all new things. Mahirap yan because we are fostering digital transformation and innovative mindset. So mahirap, let's say, so for us, para medyo calculated yung risk. So let's try it in a controlled environment. If it works, di okay. Kung hindi, at least there are mechanisms in place naman para ibalik yung pera ng tao, etc. So that's how. So it's essentially parang i-try siya in a controlled environment. So that yung mga, even let's say, may mga rural banks tayo. Alam mo naman rin, may mga rural banks medyo maliliit na institution. If they are not yet ready, so they can also use this approach. So hindi namin sure kung we can offer mobile financial services, etc. So they can also approach. Let's test and learn. So tingnan natin how this will help you, or kung paano, kung let's say, kung magiging viable ba from your end to offer these services. So essentially, ganun yung concept ng test. Instead of saying outright no, let's test it.
Agree. Thank you, Director Mel. In connection po sa system, this is for LGU Dulag po. From Matt Bretts, galing sa Facebook. Good afternoon po. The system can process the payments through GCash or e-pay system?
Not yet, but if you can see during my presentation, our e-payment is, I think, item number 18. We're going there, but not yet now. Not yet now. Again, I have to find a very reliable cybersecurity company before we go online. In the meantime, we are doing it through local area network.
Okay.
Nico, sorry
yes.
Nico, I would just like to short comment lang doon.
Okay.
Yung what Mayor Joy mentioned, it's really yung display ng caution, di ba nga? Sabi niya, we are not, until merong security expert, di ba, na makapag-attest that you have all the necessary controls, that you have all the, that na hindi talaga mape-penetrate yung system mo, then that's the time that we can be online. I think that's also a show of yung caution when it comes to kasi hindi talaga siya basta ibibigay mo lang siya without ensuring na all the measures, controls are in place para hindi nga magkaroon ng cyber incident or data leakage, etc.
Agree po. It requires careful planning bago yung go live talaga, no? One comment po from Jose Singapan from Facebook. Ang galing po ng teamwork. Sana all. Congratulations from Angeles City. Then we have one comment po from Ricky galing sa Facebook. Productivity and efficiency at its best. Congrats po. Red tape is eliminated. We have here one question, question po from Sahara from Facebook. There is some similarities of the system we use in DOLE, the SAP. This is for Director Mel po.
Sorry.
Yung discussion daw po ay may similarity sa mga existing systems na ginagamit na po. For example, in DOLE.
Is it for me or is it for Mayor Joy?
For sa inyo po, Director Mel. Yung mga discussions po ay somewhat na nagamit na po in system. So it's like comment po from Sahara po.
So in discussion. Sorry. Kasi we are partnering kasi baka yung some of the presentations. We are partnering kasi with other government agencies like DepEd, DOLE. So yung messaging pare-pareho lang, minsan pare-pareho na din, ina-update na lang namin because we also want to create awareness nga, di ba? You mentioned about whole of society approach. So dapat talaga lahat ay maturuan, di ba? Yung mga teachers, tinuturuan din natin, yung mga ibang government employees.
Yes, I agree po, Director Mel. Next question po can be answered by both po. What is your action plan in the event of possible data breaches or hack. This is from Ramses in Facebook.
So, siguro I'll start muna kasi si Mayor Joy wala pa naman dahil sabi niya land pa lang naman yan. And, medyo controlled pa. I think when it comes to planning, you mentioned about planning, Nico, kasama na talaga sa planning yan. I think medyo depressing siya but I can say na talaga na when you plan, kasama na yung worst case scenario, what if magkaroon ng mga ganitong insidente. And yun yung kasama nga sa mga risk management measures na that we are, let's say, before an institution can even offer digital financial services, lahat yan tine-check namin. Ano yung incident response plan mo? Let's say kung magkaroon ng insidente, how will you respond? How will you mitigate? Etc. So lahat yan kino-consider namin before we even approve applications to offer digital financial services. So that's why hindi na siya, ang tawag na nga namin siya ngayon, hindi na siya cybersecurity. It's cyber resilience that you cannot prevent all of these incidents, but at least, diba, you have processes in place na pag nangyari, meron kang magagawa to mitigate the impact of all of these incidents. At mabawasan din yung impact, let's say, mga clients.
Agree. I think we can only entertain one more question po. This is for LGU Dulag po. From Leo Jesus Lacaba from YouTube. How difficult is the personal alignment specifically for the project, ma'am?
Oh, from the very start, we had resistance because my people were very used to the manual processing. But I have a 58-year-old employee who actually consolidates all these real property tax payments. They used to have this very long sheet of paper where they manually input all the collections, divide them into general fund and the special education fund. When she was introduced to the system, she was very happy. She said, when I was making this particular document, it takes me weeks. I even have to bring home this document. But right now, with a click of a finger, the report is also already generated with just, barely a minute. So first, there was quite a resistance from the people. But once you teach them how to use the system, they embraced it. Personal alignment, of course, we had to hire new people, especially the IT group, in order to facilitate the technological advancement. And we were closely supported by the developer. So every step of the way, nandyan sila to help us. Personal alignment in a sense na kung ikaw, let's say si HR, si Sir Juni, marunong naman siya mag-computer. Pero nung in-introduce na yung system, sabi niya, hindi na pala Excel ang paggawa ng payroll. Hindi na mano-mano yung pag-compute because the system, you input a certain formula, siya nang nagko-compute. So wala nang mga errors. Mas na-appreciate. So siguro ang point ko doon is you have to point out to our people the benefit of the system and make them see na, mas madali ito sa buhay mo. And with that, everybody will embrace it. Even our constituents here, when they come and pay their real property taxes, hinahanap sa database, lumalabas ka agad, sabi niya, wow. And then they can compare us with other LGUs. Sabi, doon nga sa minsan pinapabalik-balik pa kami kasi hahanapin pa sa mga libro. Mahirap sa pagsimula. But once you're there, this is our 6th year of improving and adding systems, and so far so good. We're doing well. Sabi nga, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So you do it step by step.
I love it, Attorney Joy. Thank you so much po, Director Mel and Mayor Joy, for the valuable case presentations po, no? To culminate everything, very important ang multifaceted approach, careful planning, and coordination for successful implementation ng digital transformation. We're still in the first steps pa po ng journey, pero eventually, we'll get there. So, that is all the time that we have for the webinar series on digital transformation for enhancing public sector productivity. Our sincerest appreciation po, Director Mel and Attorney Joy, for gracing your presence po. Again, we would like to remind our participants that in order to get an e-certificate of attendance, they should accomplish the session's evaluation form and pass the exams. You may find the link to the unified 3-day evaluation forms and the quiz in the chat box. The deadline of submission will be on Monday, October 10 at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you very much once again for your support and see you again on our future webinars. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Happy weekend din po.